What's up everyone, this is RanserSSF4 and welcome to another movie review for you today. It's actually a movie I seen this Friday, a few days ago. It's a movie that I quite honestly had very high doubts about. Now I don't think it's not going to be a good movie. However, I did decide to give it a chance just to see if it might turn my expectations around. The movie is Dreamworks' Turbo, which was released on July 17th of this year. Now the whole thing that a lot of people might think that the premise of the movie sounds really ridiculous, like a snail who wants to go fast, as in that, and that sort of stuff. Now, a lot of people might complain that maybe that's just a really weird premise, that it's the worst one they could think of, but I don't know about that. Dreamworks Animation has made several movies in the past that actually had really weird premises as this. Like, let's see, a kung fu fighting panda. That's pretty fun. That's pretty neat. A cartoony slapstick of animals escaping from the zoo and released in the wild. That's pretty funny and good. And a snail going fast? Whoa. That's just jumping the shark. Though. But there is a lot of things I did. And, I'm not gonna lie, people. Turbo turned out pretty much almost exactly what I expected it to be. But I will say this. It's not a terrible movie. I'll say that. It's not a terrible movie. It's just an average film. But quite honestly, to me, I don't think it's not one of Dreamworks' best movies. Luckily, it's not as bad as Shark Tale, where the whole movie, Shark Tale, was so stupid. But anyways, if you want to know why I had high doubts about it, let me explain. Like, the first thing I want to talk about is the story itself. The main story of the plot is pretty much the Dreamer story. Here, we're basically Theo, or Turbo, who dreams of becoming fast and joining the Indy 500 to meet his idol. But once he gets his powers, he now goes to the Indy 500 and competes. Now the whole thing may sound like it works for maybe this premise, but it doesn't really work though, because the only movie I could think of that had a Dreamer story, but that's not a Dreamworks movie, is actually Pixar's Ratatouille, which is actually one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. However, unlike Turbo, it actually works in Ratatouille, because the way Brad Bird described it in Ratatouille was not only very interesting, it was very heartwarming, engaging, and sometimes it can even get so fast-paced in some of the scenes in the movie. But in Turbo, it becomes super predictable from top to bottom. And another thing I want to point about the story that I absolutely despise about is that because if you think about the story about a snail competing in a race against his idols, against some very colorful characters, which I'll talk about later. This whole movie, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a humongous ripoff of Pixar's Cars. And not only does it copy some elements from both Ratatouille and Cars, but the majority of the elements are directly off of Cars. And it's not just the theme of racing. And like I said, it's also because the cast of colorful characters. There's decent animation, and even a very predictable plot that's similar to the Cars movie. So, like, quite honestly, I knew that this movie wasn't going to be on the original side, but I did not expect. I'm sorry. But quite honestly, I kind of predicted it was going to be a Cars ripoff, and it turned out exactly what I thought the story was going to be. If there is one thing I could say, though, that's a bit good about the story, is that if there is maybe one good thing I would say, though, about the story, it would have to be that even though the premise sounds a bit weird, though, it does actually explain a few things, though, a little bit better, despite the fact that the whole story is predictable. Oh, and I forgot to mention the side plot of the movie, where the human characters have to try to make their strip mall household name by entering the snail in the 5500. Even though it does have a connection to the main plot, like the main story, it becomes super predictable with the main plot. So, like, this is definitely, in my opinion, not the best story that Dreamworks could make up. though, and it's a pretty predictable bad story. As for the animation, it's no surprise that DreamWorks did make good animation, but it's not. But if you compare it to their previous movies like The Croods or Rise of the Guardians, the animation looks more subpar compared to them. But don't get me wrong though, the animation is still good. DreamWorks still did make good animation, just nowhere near as good as The Croods or Rise of the Guardians animation, and it's not the prime example of what they could do. The biggest flaws I actually have though, the biggest flaw I have with it is that the character design I felt actually, he looks a bit more like a Fisher-Price toy that you would get from a Fisher-Price egg. Though. And the same thing can go for the human characters. Though. And another problem about it is that the whole entire environment around them is more like what people call the urban environment. It's where you have a lot of vehicles, buildings, a racetrack, highways, and many, many more. Though. But even though I don't really mind that, I don't mind that saying that much though, but I do wish they could have done better with it though. But to be fair though, however, though, they definitely make up some of the problems in the animation with lots of positives for it. Like for example, the character animation is actually nice. I think it's pretty nice. He's in that. And even some of the textures are almost of a variety of different things around them is actually really good and well done and well detailed. But as for the even the character's animation on the snails is done. And another major thing I really like about it too is that since they go to different sizes from different point of views, like the human's point of view to the snail's point of view really makes it look larger than life. And since the whole entire place is sent to an urban environment, it actually makes it, and because there's so many things in the urban environment to look at, it makes them way more bigger and way more better than detailed and larger than life. Probably even more than films like Monsters University or Epic. Actually no, I mean more than Epic actually. Anyways, the main plot. Hold on, what I was gonna say, yeah. Oh yeah. Not only that, but the animation can get really, really colorful in the movie. Can get very, very colorful like the snails themselves. Another major positive to it is that some of the moods in the movie, the tones definitely fit some of the action scenes. Most namely the third act of the movie. Yeah. This animation kind of reminds me of, I don't know, Cars. No, it's without a doubt. DreamWorks Animation still made good animation, but it doesn't stand out from The Croods, and it's not a great example of what they could possibly do. As for the characters, they're pretty much like the characters in Cars, where the majority of the characters are only there are either one-dimensional or just only there to make one joke. There's Theo, or Turbo, the main character of the movie, who pretty much wants dreams of being his idol and entering the Indy 5500. I think that's what its name is, of the racing track. I don't really remember. Sorry, I really have a terrible memory thing. Anyways, Turbo not only becomes super fast after he gains his powers, he also has headlights, a radio, backlights, and many more. The one problem about them, however, is that they only use that for jokes. And the sad thing about them, however, is that they're only there they only reference that jokes only once at the very beginning of the movie, or pretty much the first act of the film. Yeah, and because of that, they're only used as jokes, it pretty much makes the premise of the movie sound even way more predictable than it already is. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired. There's Theo's brother, Dunk, or Thugger. I don't really remember his name again. Sorry about that, people. Anyways, he's pretty much like the Emil. Quite honestly, he's more like the Emil of DreamWorks' Turbo. You know, Emil from Ratatouille, of course. He's pretty much the generic brother who pretty much doesn't believe in him at all until end. And by the way, he's not really as funny as Emil, by the way. As for the rest of the characters, like the human characters, oh, and speaking of human characters, there's actually a human. There are the two main human characters, which are Tito and Angelo, are like the human versions of Theo and his brother. Yeah, you can easily tell. Well, their name. You can easily tell who's which just by one of their names. Names in. Oh, hold on one sec here. Okay. Yeah, their only main purpose in the whole film is just to bring Turbo Theo into the Indy 500. But anyways, back to the rest of the characters. The rest of the characters either just only there to make a joke or just have a really odd, kooky personality. Slow-Mo is like the rapper of the group. Let's talk about the snails first. There's Slow-Mo, who's more like the rapper of the group. White Shell is the fat white snail who thinks he can always hide in the shadows. There's also the female snail, who pretty much is just the crazy generic female love interest for Theo's brother, I guess. And then And I know there's another snail in the group, but I forgot his name, so sorry, so we'll skip him. And then finally there's Whiplash, who, I'm not gonna lie actually, is actually the most likable and possibly everybody's favorite character in the movie. I mean, who doesn't love a crazy Samuel Jackson? Though. And quite honestly, even though I don't find all the jokes in the movie very funny actually, and I never once laughed at all of them at all, well, it's actually Whiplash's jokes, quite honestly, that I actually end up liking or giggling at. Though, especially his crazy personality too. As for the human cast, there's the old lady who's pretty much Angela, just as a small old fat lady. There's the blue-haired girl who's the mechanic of the group. There's the gray guy who runs a tattoo parlor shop. Well, that's pretty much it. As you can tell, now, quite honestly, as you can tell, the characters are mostly Now, if there is one good thing I could say, though, about the majority of characters, is that they definitely do help out the main characters. There's a lot, and they actually do, and some of them do actually become likable because they're so helpful. Now, the characters here I'm not saying I don't hate all the characters. In fact, I actually find the characters okay. But it's just that they're not that original or creative. So, overall, in conclusion, Turbo is pretty much DreamWorks' version of Cars. But not only did it copy everything else from Cars, but it's not only is the story a huge ripoff of Cars, but it also copies many elements from it too, such as having really good, nice, and colorful animation, but story characters that represent way too much of like the Pixar movie. I would only recommend this for only those who do enjoy the Cars movies, even those who like the sequel. For the rest, well, I'd rather you go watch The Croods than this. The thing I find funny though about this is that how some of the animated movies this year are set up. First off, we have the ripoff, and now we have to move on to the spin-off movie. The Cars. No, not Cars, I mean Planes, sorry. Planes. And Planes is another one I have high doubts about as well. So, for my rating, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Turbo is not a terrible movie. It didn't turn out as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's not as bad as Shark Tale. But because of that the whole movie shares the same flaws as Cars by being a huge ripoff, it pretty much is not one of DreamWorks' best movies that they could make. Though. So, I'm going to be honest to the movie, and this is my honest feelings though about it. In my opinion, I give Turbo a 6 out of 10. It's not one of DreamWorks' best movies. It's just an average film. If you want to find maybe a very fun DreamWorks movie that you can enjoy and find the movie good, I'd say go either watch The Croods, or go watch Rise of the Guardians on DVD. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching this episode of movie reviews, and I'll see you guys for another movie review. I don't know when the next movie I'll be about, so thanks a lot. I'll see you later.